I'm asking people in this district, the first congressional district, if you're in Camden County, Gloucester County, Palmyra, Maple Shade, what do you have to lose? Are you tired of the highest taxes in the nation? Are you tired of slow or no economic development? Are you tired of businesses closing? Are you tired of all the money getting poured into Camden and no one else is going anywhere? Are you tired of our ratables? If you look at all these counties, 95% of the taxes paid to the municipalities are paid by the citizens, not businesses, because we don't have those large businesses we need. We have no small manufacturing companies here.
We need to create a new economic environment in this district, and we need to bring small manufacturing jobs to this district. So many businesses now are just leaving. You take a look at Washington Township, you go down 42, all the vacant buildings, there's probably about 50% vacancies right now in Washington Township, and everybody's screaming. Each town is screaming, how do we get businesses back to South Jersey in this district? And the problem is, it's the congressman's responsibility. The congressman's responsibility in this district to bring businesses to this district from around the country.
Right.
He's our representative. He's our representative for this district, and it's got to be more than Camden. And right now, that's their prime focus. And what's happening, the towns in Voorhees, the town of Washington Township, Williamstown, each town in this district is wondering, where's the next business opportunity coming from? Where? You see what's going on in Burlington County. MacArthur, Republican. A renaissance going on in Marlton right now that's off the charts. You take a look at Congressional District 2 and what Lobiondo was capable of doing for economic development. Don't get me wrong, Lobiondo's retiring now, but where's the economic development in this district? It's going to other areas and leaving us behind. And you got to put it on the back of Donald Norcross, and you also have to put it on Rob Andrews as well at the end of his term, and he went out in disgrace. But you have to look at the fact that the Republican Party is the party of action. Period. End of story. The Republican Party needs to come back. We need to make a stance, and we need to say it is time for economic development right now in this district. And my primary goal is bringing economic development. And we've talked about this, Steve, multiple times. The one part of my plan is bringing a convention center into South Jersey, whether or not it's Gloucester Township or Washington Township. We have the ability to make a significant economic impact right now. And Washington Township, in my opinion, is probably would be the best location because of all the medical development and all the medical facilities going on in Washington Township. What a renaissance that would create. Then another economic boom that would be created, we talked about, is the Patco extension.
That's so true.
Patco extension from Camden all the way to Glassboro. If you're driving down 42 right now, you're banging your head into the wall, wondering how in the world can we relieve this congestion? And the answer was already determined in 1972. The Patco extension from Camden to Glassboro. It's never been built. Every 10 years they talk about it, and it's never been built. And don't get me wrong, they actually did an economic feasibility study. It was just done 2 years ago about how it would eliminate the congestion, but it's never been done. It's all talk since 1972. And the reason why it's been all talk is because a Republican hasn't held this seat since 1974. Republican Party is a party of action. My primary focus, more than anything, will get that built at last. At last, it needs to be built.
That's so true, Paul. That would relieve so many. So the people that live, say, in Washington Township, Pittman, Manchester, all these areas could then drive to the Patco Speed Line in Glassboro, get their cup of coffee in the morning, go to work in the city like they do, and come back, and they avoid 42 all the time. But it's funny how come you say that no Republican has, since the Republicans have put that plan in place in 1972 and it hasn't changed. Also, It's great that we have fantastic hospitals in the area, but the problem is they're eating up our towns, and there's no tax base there. There's no tax rate. They're nonprofits. They don't pay the same as the residents pay.
So effectively, we need to figure out a way to create additional economic development. That's why I said Washington Township is hospital central right now.
Yes.
Good God, we have Virtua there. Now we have
Jefferson. It's, just
and Rothman just built that
Rothman,
huge facility.
Right.
And don't get me wrong, Rothman got this huge tax break in Washington Township. And I'm like, for what? Rothman already existed in Washington Township. All they did was move, and you enabled them to move, and you gave them this big tax break. And it just blows my mind. But we need to create something in Washington Township that's going to create an economic renaissance. And the best thing, in my opinion, would be that convention center. That convention center, putting it somewhere strategically in Washington Township, and all of a sudden you're going to have people flocking to that convention center and creating economic development.
And create jobs. And it may
Oh, you're right. And unions are going to love us.
Right.
Unions are absolutely going to love us. They're going to be involved in the convention center, and they're also going to be involved in the PATCO. The PATCO extension. All these unions who are wondering where's my next job, guess what? We're going to create a good amount of jobs for our unions.
And that's fantastic, because nobody builds it better than a union member, that's for sure. If you are in a building and the union carpenters and the iron workers and all, they are built the best. The cement workers, the whole thing. That's what we want. But the problem is these guys are traveling an hour, 2 hours outside of our area because we have no economic growth. They're traveling 2 hours to go to work because all the economic growth is in Pennsylvania, different states.
It's not in our district.
Not in our district.
Everyone who's part of a union right now in this district should really be scratching their head. What in the world has the Democratic Party done for you right now? What have they done for you? All they do is manipulate the unions. I got a questionnaire, and I'm going to talk about the questionnaire that I got from the AFL-CIO, and I was told I was asked to fill it out and send it back on my opinions. Well, the first two questions are, how much do you hate Donald Trump and his policies? And I thought, you know what? I'm not even going to fill this out because it's obscene that they're never going to endorse me. They're never going to endorse a Republican. If the first two questions of that questionnaire are about ripping Donald Trump, there's nothing I could possibly say that's going to grab their endorsement. But think about this. And teachers' unions in particular, in this district, George Norcross has his clutches on the unions to the negative. If you're a teacher, what he's done, the charter schools that he's built in Camden, he wants to branch them out all throughout the district. What does that do to our teachers? He's not going to hire union teachers.
Right.
It's not going to happen. He's going to go find his own cream of the crop and hire them. He's not going to hire union teachers. And that's what charter schools are. They're not about. They're not about hiring unions.
Yeah. So. And that is so true. And also too, to talk about the unions, the Republicans always get they're anti-union, they're this. They're not. They're the party of action. So we are in a union state.
I come from Gloucester City. Gloucester City is union central. The core of my being is supporting unions because most of the people in Gloucester are part of a union.
And what happens too? So President Trump, he's anti-union, but I know a lot of union guys have voted for him because they were smart enough to understand that Donald Trump understood business and he's a builder. Yeah,
the person we talked to before our show, he's union his whole life, and he is finally Democrat. He's voted Democrat his whole life, and he said, for the first time ever, I voted Republican for Donald Trump. And I don't believe that he's anti-union. There's nothing you could tell me that says he's anti-union. He's a builder, for God's sake. He builds, and you know what? And he builds commercial development. All he hired was unions.
That's true. And where he built them, he built in New York City, union capital of the world. He built there, and he hired union.
And he built in Atlantic City too.
Right. But when you talk to him, when I've listened to his speeches, And also when he talks to the large corporations, the large builders, and he goes, I understand, we have to hire a union, and that's fine. They build the best, and that's the way it's going to be. We're going to pay the rate and do that. But there's also a businessman, so of course he also wants to be the best bottom line. So what does he do? He lowers the corporate tax for everyone, even for the builders, the commercial builders, and now all these big buildings are going up. All the hotels are going up. All this stuff, not to mention the infrastructure projects. Do we want?
And that benefits union workers.
It absolutely
that
does
benefits union workers. I don't know how, if you're a union worker, how can you not be thinking that the Republican Party has the union's best interest at heart when they lowered the taxes?
Right. So
How can you possibly not think that Donald Trump was not working in the best interest of unions? And he's not also working in the best interest of every single American in this country.
That's so true. It's funny. When you listen to Nancy Pelosi, Chuck Schumer, Bernie Sanders, oh boy, and Elizabeth Warren, who wants to raise the taxes. She says this country was the most profitable ever when personal income tax was at 90% for the highest people. 90%. Could you
Jimmy
imagine
Carter.
that?
Yeah, Jimmy Carter. Yeah, and where were we in the 70s? My God. Thank God for Ronald Reagan. Thank God. He saw, again, us as our city on a hill. And that's, thankfully, his vision created a huge economic boom. And that's exactly what Donald Trump is trying to create for us now. Turn things around, lower the taxes.